Hey everyone, my name is Tilly and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who are new here, I am a strength and conditioning coach and welcome. Please like and subscribe if you find anything in this video useful because it'll really help me out and let me know that I'm onto something good. I hate long introductions, so let's get on with the video. Today, I thought I would create a series of videos talking about how to create your own training program. We're going into depth on everything. We're going to talk about what, why, when, and how. Maybe who? I hope it helps some of you who are new to the gym feel a bit more empowered and brave. And I hope it helps some of you gym vets really understand why you're doing what you're doing. With all this said, we're going to start off this series by talking about exercise selection and exercise order. I think this is the best way to start because if you're going to the gym, you might have bought a program online, you might be working with a coach, or you might just be jotting some stuff down yourself. By learning about exercise selection and order today, you're going to have the tools to critique in a little bit more detail some of the programs that you're currently doing, or it'll help you look a little bit more closely at what you're spending your money on. First, let's talk about exercise order. For the order of the exercises, we generally choose this based on how quickly our body parts take to recover. For example, the upper body recovers the most quickly, which is followed by the lower body and then followed by the trunk. So that abdominal and lower back musculature. Did I say that right? I swear I've said abdominals like 50 times trying to say it right. It just doesn't sound good. As an example, this means we would never put our bent over row before we put a squat because we still need our abdominals and because we still need a lot of that core musculature while we're doing our squat. So we wouldn't want to go into that exercise feeling fatigued or feeling like we wouldn't be performing our best. There's also the strong possibility that starting resistance training programs with the lower body exercise actually lowers the rating of perceived exertion, which means you might find the overall session a little bit easier if you were to start it with your lower body exercise, your big lower body lift. Some research has suggested that it makes us feel a little bit less fatigued and it makes us feel like we've worked less hard. We can also select our exercise order based on what kind of exercise it is. Assistance or single joint exercises usually recruit a really small amount of muscle mass, and that is not how we should be starting our sessions. They generally should not be performed before compound exercises. Some examples of those single joint movements are bicep curls or tricep pushdowns, anything that really isolates one particular muscle group. On the other hand, compound exercises are multi-joint and they recruit a large amount of muscle mass. There's usually one for all the main movement patterns. Think squat, deadlift, lunge, bench press, shoulder press, lat pull down. All of those big movements. These are exercises that we use to build capacity and tolerance to load. They should be staples in our gym programs, and they are king of the gym. On the other hand, generally assistance or single joint exercises should not make up the bulk of our programs. And this is simply because they don't help to build that capacity that I was talking about. So what I mean by that is they don't help to build that strength really. And generally, they do not reduce injury risk. So primarily, your sessions should be made up of compound exercises. Most research, on the other hand, will show that in untrained subjects, you can increase your strength and your hypertrophy by doing single joint and multi-joint exercises. However, as you progress in your gym career, this isn't going to work as well. So it is important to remember that stuff that I said earlier about compound exercises being king. In terms of chronic or long-term adaptations, greater strength increases were seen in untrained subjects in the first exercise of a given sequence, while strength increases were usually inhibited for the last exercise in a given sequence. So what do we take from that? Get your priorities straight. Put what you want to improve on the most first. You're more likely to have a better outcome following the resistance training sessions if you put your main focus first. Now, unfortunately, there is a caveat. There is an exception to all of these rules about compound exercises, single joint exercises, recovery times of the lower back, upper back. There is an exception. That exception is your goals. Your goals are going to shape everything you do in the gym. Research even goes so far as to say that exercises should be ordered based on priority of importance. And they say that is irrespective of whether or not the exercise that you're doing recruits a small amount of muscle mass or a large amount of muscle mass. So that contradicts everything I just said. Now you can have so many different types of goals, whether they be performance or aesthetics, technique improvement or endurance, strength, hypertrophy, or power. The list goes on. If I was a bodybuilder and I was told in my last competition that my biceps were kind of lacking, or I got a little bit of a hint from the judge that I needed to work on my biceps, What exercise might I put first? A bicep curl, even though they recruit a smaller amount of muscle mass and they're a single joint exercise. Huge amount of muscle mass on me. Of course, there are other ways of prioritizing your biceps, but for the sake of this video, let's say that we do that by putting them first. If I was a rugby player like my partner, these single joint exercises might not even come into my programming at all, or rather they may not make up the bulk of the program because they don't build the capacity and the strength and the power that I need to succeed in rugby training. I'm actually currently doing the program for my partner, and I know for a fact he did not get a 245 kilo squat by doing small single joint exercises like a leg extension or a leg curl. The list of exceptions is huge. If I was a power lifter, I would most likely be prioritizing my bench, squat, and deadlift because those are my main competition lifts. I'm not going to leave them to the end of the session when I'm fatigued from other exercises. If you are coming back from an injury, you might put your rehabilitation exercises first because you want to do them while you're focused and you're fresh so that you can get the adaptations that you need. If you can justify it, or if you have a reason behind it, you can most likely get away with it in your programming. For the most part, you can probably get away with most things. You can justify almost anything in the fitness space by saying it depends, because it really does. It depends on you, your individual goals, your fitness level, your body type, and what you're training for. It depends is a tenet amongst strength and conditioning coaches. I'm now going to finish up this video by showing you a couple of sessions that I've done recently. My goal for this block of training was hypertrophy and technique improvement, as I'm coming back from a surgery, and so I'm just kind of getting back into the gym. Some things to note here: the movements that I want to prioritize are put first so I can do them when I'm fresh. The assistance exercises are put towards the end of my session so that I can get through those big movements without having any of that resulting fatigue from the assistance exercises. I don't want them to affect any of my other movements. You'll also note that, coming back to that first point I made, compound exercises are placed before single joint exercises. The bent over row in one of these sessions occurs quite early on, which could contradict that point I made about recovery time and not wanting lower back movements to be put first in your sessions. However, if you have a quick look at the other exercises I put in that session, you'll notice that they're not too taxing. I'm not really going to need much of my lower back while I'm doing leg curls on a machine or when I'm doing body weight movements. And actually, I can move more weight after my operation doing bent over rows than I could with my leg curls, so it seemed to work out for me. I was happy to prioritize that movement. Now, having had a look at that, this brings us to the end of the video. I hope you all learned something, and if you're a client of mine, I hope that you got a little bit of information about how I program for you. I hope this explains why certain things are programmed the way they are, and I hope most of all that you guys learned something. As always, reach out if you need help with programming or if you'd like to become a client. Please like and subscribe if you thought this video was helpful. It will let me know that I'm onto something. Thanks for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye.